Welcome back to the Hurry Up Offense. 5 minutes of fantasy football news and advice. I am Smokey Rameriz, your fantasy football pro. Let's go. Today's topic is kind of a twofer. It's basically the end of regression for the season. And also I want to talk about how running backs are affected by running quarterbacks. But first, let's get into the news. You can drop Deebo Samuel because unless you're playing in week 17, like some leagues that I'm in, you're probably not going to see Deebo Samuel again and have any use out of him for your fantasy team. But if you have Brandin Aiyuk, load him in there because in games without Deebo and without George Kittle, Brandin Aiyuk is more than serviceable. Get him in. Rashaad Penny has a chance to return this week, which you're not going to play Rashaad Penny, especially coming back after that long of an absence. He hasn't played a game this season, but if you have Chris Carson, this may affect him for this week. Keep an eye on that. Mike Williams barely played in that game against the Falcons, so right now it's looking like he's not playing in week 15. Here's the problem. Keenan Allen also has a hamstring injury, and we don't know as of right now his status for week 15, so you're going to have to keep an eye on him. It might be third stringer time for the Chargers. Raheem Mostert came out of that loss to Washington with a bum ankle, and right now we still don't know the status of him for week 15. If he is gone, look for Jeff Wilson. Unlikely as it may be, look for Jeff Wilson to put up some points this week. Brandin Cooks is expected to play in week 15 as of right now. So if you have Deshaun Watson, rejoice over that fact. Ronald Jones is having surgery on his pinky, and this is very similar to what happened to Chris Godwin not that long ago. And here's the problem. Yes, he does have Leonard Fournette and LaShawn McCoy and Keyshawn Vaughn, all usable running backs sitting behind him. But surprisingly, as bad as the Falcons defense is, they are pretty tough against the run. So other than Leonard Fournette, I wouldn't see myself playing either McCoy or Vaughn. And last but not least today is I am proud to report that Miles Sanders has returned to prominence. And that actually leads us right into the game theory portion of the show this week. I want to talk about the end of the regression that we typically see for sophomore running backs. We call it a sophomore slump most appropriately, because more times than not, when you see an extremely productive running back come into the system in the NFL and perform well in his rookie season, we also see him regress massively for the most part in his sophomore season. Now, this doesn't happen to every single running back or quarterback, because it also happens typically to running quarterbacks also, and there is a correlation here. Now, you can do the analytics and find out why that is. I don't have time for that on this show, but trust me, it happens more times than not. Miles Sanders is performing at this point in time. He just had a massive game with Jalen Hurts as his quarterback. Now, this is the trend that I'm talking about in more ways than one here. Typically, when we see a sophomore slump, we also see that running back and or running quarterback start to perform again toward the end of his sophomore season. Yes, he had the slump, but typically they snap out of it toward the end of their second season. It's an amazing phenomena, but trust me, it happens more times than it does not. Ask Lamar Jackson. Of course, he's in his third season, but he's in his second starting season. And so is Miles Sanders. And if I had to put it all on the line right here and make a bet, I would say that Miles Sanders continues to perform, especially now that he has a running quarterback out there on the field with him, because that happens also. When you put a running quarterback on the field, it helps the production of the running back. Almost every single time. I could not tell you how many times I saw this take place. Now, maybe on a show where we have more time, I will talk about, why the defense can't seem to cover a running back that is working in tandem with a running quarterback as much. It has to do with RPOs and a bunch of other offenses that we could explain later. But as for right now, just remember that this phenomena happens, and use it in these playoffs that we're in right now to go get your championship. That's it for this week. Please subscribe to the Beyond Football channel. I am Smokey Rameriz, your fantasy football pro. I'll see you next week. Deuces.